What's up, YouTube? Vanguard here. By popular request, we're going to be doing my top favorite, most game impacting, and of course, favorite ritual monsters of all time in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. So currently, a few things have been released to kind of make this list a little bit more versatile, because granted, there's not very many good ritual monsters, period. So all of these that we're going to discuss, bear with me. Yeah. So first off, Demise, the King of Armageddon. Before Teledad was released, there was a deck called Demise Insects, or End of the World. The deck functioned on the premises of ARA, drop 2 Insect Knights to the graveyard, bring out Demise, blow up the board, equip Megamorph, and then Doomdozer for game, because that gives you basically 8,000 life points to kill your opponent, which is pretty ridiculous. I remember back in the old video games, I used to not have Wi-Fi, so I would just play Yu-Gi-Oh! On my DS when we went to Chinese play people online, try to get some points on the old 2008 game. And I remember my opponent did the Demise OTK, blew up my board, brought out Doomdozer, equipped Megamorph on it, attacked me directly, and I milled Dandelion. Back in that format, you know, you could play Raida in Japan, which was actually Light and Darkness Dragon, Perfect Circle, that deck. But it was just so cool just to have a decent memory like that. Just having your opponent push for an OTK and then you just mill Dandelion from your deck. But this deck, back in the day, there was also a regional that I played in against Demise. This deck was not fun. Granted, player priority was the thing, so they'd go Demise, pay 2k, you chain Bottomless. You know, of course, the board still gets nuked. Insect Knight's probably going to do some things. On my turn, I would do Gadget, you know, smash ground off the Insect Knight that they had on the board, attack, set Bottomless. If you could continue on with this endless loop, you would eventually win, because your opponent can only search so many times for Demises, and that 2,000 cost was pretty hefty back in the day. So Demise coming in at number 5. Number 4, this one really needs no explanation. My friend M and I were discussing. He feels that this isn't even really a card worth putting in the top. I feel that this card was more game impacting than pretty much any of the ritual monsters to date, actually. Mind August allowed for the Mind August FTK. Now, if you guys don't know what the FTK was, it was kind of inconsistent. Basically just allowed you to infinitely loop your deck. And while you were looping, you know, of course, you were killing your opponent with some, you know, obscure means to win. But Mind August got put to 1 because it had this intanginous ability to continuously loop through your deck, just reset yourself, and then you would kill your opponent by some strong means. If that doesn't warrant a spot in the top 4, I really don't know what is. So Mind August coming in at 4th place because of his FTK that he had with him. Number 3, this one is still relatively new. Herald of Glorious Light. Now, this is the Herald that says, alright, you can send one fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard to apply one of the following effects. When your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or a monster effect, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And of course, when your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, negate that special summon, and if you do, destroy that monster or monsters. Now, a 3,000 defense wall Herald is kind of ridiculous, but the 12 stars kind of kills it and puts it lower than the other Herald of Perfection, which, coming in at number 2, is Herald of Perfection. Now, the stories that you guys can be told about this nightmare, there was a time in the game's history where this card was absolutely ridiculous in the way that it played. There was a regional I ended up playing in. I had to play against Parker Robinson. He was piloting Herald in top 8, and I'm playing Gadgets. So you would think that I would automatically lose that matchup. Well, there's 2 ways to beat Herald, and I don't think a lot of players really try to exploit them, or they used to be able to. Spirit Reaper is the wall for days. Your opponent doesn't have an answer to Spirit Reaper as much as you don't have an answer to the Herald of Perfection. Now, there reaches a point in the game state, though, where all 5 monsters, all 5 spell and trap cards, and the 6 card hand limit is achieved. Now, if you can match Herald in that regard, 5 possible monsters, 5 spells and traps, and 6 cards in your hand. If you draw to the 7th card, you can break the Herald lock. Of course, you're going to have to burn every resource to do it, and I don't recommend doing it because it's a very rare case scenario that will actually resolve. But it is possible to break the Herald lock just via game mechanics, and I don't think a lot of players tend to realize that. The other way to really crap on Herald's Day, though, was Banisher of the Radiance. Banisher of the Radiance would force your opponent to have to remove the cards from play, and since Herald of Perfection has to put the monster in the graveyard, you're pretty much just free to summon Banisher, Lightning Vortex. But this card has ridiculous stats. The game has long since kind of evolved to the point to where Herald isn't as consistent as it used to be, nor the fact that it is as worrisome as it used to be. So Herald of Perfection coming in at number 2, the most ridiculous card I've ever had to play against in this game. Number 1, the most broken ritual monster of all time, in my opinion, is Yugioh Gust Kraken. Now, I know a lot of players are going to be like, oh, you didn't even give Relinquished an honorable mention. Relinquished? Compared to all these other guys, I mean, Zale, Gygus, and Relinquished are probably the other picks. But Gust Kraken is one of those cards that just shits on people's day. If this card was still at 3 with the Heretic Loop, you would just be netting 3 cards out of your opponent's hand, M7, probably getting 4 or 5 cards out of your opponent's hand. A card that can hand loop successfully is very dangerous in this game, and I know a lot of players really seem to discount Gust Kraken because he is at 1, but he's still one of the most ridiculous cards in the game. Like I said, just knowing what your opponent has, getting that free knowledge, can really put your opponent in a damper, especially revealing of the double cards. So the potential that Gust Kraken had for being one of the most broken ritual monsters of all time is long since gone. It's still a very good card, but I do consider this card probably the best ritual monster. My honorable mention, though, to everybody that knew this was coming, my favorite ritual monster is Hungry Bugger. Now, if you guys don't know how to achieve this fantastic 2018 50 beautiful piece of dark meat, it can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card Hamburger Recipe, and you must also tribute monsters whose total level equals 6 or more from the field or hand. 2,000 attack points. An amazing starting point in this game's history. One of the only cards to date to actually have a food reflection. And I mean, I would be scared shitless if I was staring down the face of a hungry burger. I'm just saying. So guys, these are my top picks for ritual monsters. We'll probably be doing fusions next. I'm not quite sure. This series is kind of expanding over time. So guys, leave a comment down below. Tell MKohl40-sama what you guys want to hear. And I'm out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please thumbs up this video to show your support. And please check out Vanguard for Cardfight Vanguard, MKohl Games for miscellaneous trading card games, and No Limit Gaming for a brand new series of Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thanks for watching.